I mean, often people say to me, well, if we have this new blockchain or this new shared ledger, then you don't need SWIFT anymore. Well, if we have this new blockchain or this new shared ledger, then you don't need SWIFT anymore.
Internet of value at Ripple, we're thinking much bigger than just cross-border payments. It's kind of like Amazon with rare books in the early days. Just this market happens to be a $10 trillion market.
We are at a historic turning point.
Said in the past that you are doing for money what email did for communication.
Moving the whole revolution forward.
There's trillions of dollars parked around the world. RP.
Is there a possibility that Ripple could take over SWIFT one day?
This is nuts. I cannot believe we missed this. Why is nobody talking about this? Remember Project Agora? Well, guess what? They're asking for help. Yes, this is crazy. And we're also going to go over what Tom Zinak says here from Swift. And we're also going to cover what Tony McLaughlin says. Monumental stuff. Guys, you got to listen very, very carefully to what they're stating here. I'm going to try to connect the puzzles together. I'm going to give you guys some hardcore evidence. Tony McLaughlin, 19 years and 10 months, almost 20 years at Citibank, currently working emerging payments and business development. But before we get into the jaw dropper, let's go over Project Agora. They're calling for participation from the private sector. They're asking for assistance. And listen to one of the requirements. Regulated financial institutions. This is one of the requirements. Applicants must be financial institutions, including but not limited to commercial banks, deposit-taking institutions, and FMIs, or critical service providers in the payment ecosystem. For example, international payment network institution in both categories must be subject to appropriate and effective regulation, regulatory oversight mechanisms, and or supervision in the jurisdiction of at least one of the participating central banks. This is crazy because Ripple is regulated. Ripple can participate in this, and don't be shocked when the news comes out that Ripple actually is participating in this. And in terms of having licenses in the jurisdictions, the names of the banks they listed here, Ripple has jurisdictions and approvals in each of them. Look at this: Bank of Japan, Bank of Korea, Banco de Mexico, Swiss National Bank, Bank of England, Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Folks, every single thing that I just named, every single country that I just named, Ripple has regulatory oversight. Go ahead and smash that like button. Are you kidding me? And then they state the specific project objective is to test the feasibility of a multi-currency ledger for cross-border payments and to build a prototype based on use cases. Take a deep breath. That was a lot to take in. Folks, strap in. I'm telling you, this is going to be a roller coaster ride because we didn't even get to the good stuff. We got Project Agora. I'll leave the link in the description down below. You guys can check it out. But look at this. Listen to what Tom Zinak says here.
I don't know how many people would have picked it up last year, but we launched a transaction manager, which is kind of next generation beyond messaging, to move into orchestrated transactions, right? So the creator of a digital asset network, right? So the creator of a digital asset network, we can say to you via APIs, how can we help you orchestrate this, and how can we actually monitor end to end? Because that's what we want. And how do we make sure that in the introduction of that asset, that you work at a kind of a minimal level of service that our Swift community expects on a transaction that goes over Swift. So we now have the capabilities, and we're now directing traffic in some cases as a part of the ISO 2022 migration that's happening now across the industry. We have the ability to orchestrate. And so we can sit with these creator of new digital assets and say, what can we do to help you with? And so we can sit with these creator of new digital assets and say, what can we do to help you with our network reach, with our secure messaging? Every message that goes across the Swift network is signed.
In terms of ISO 20022, okay, keep into consideration that Ripple is a part of this registration management group member list, and RippleNet is named. The only one, Stellar's not here, Algorand's not here, CLS is here. But CLS doesn't have a settlement asset like RippleNet does, which is very, very important. RippleNet, XRP versus Swift's TMP. As a member of ISO 20022 Registration Management Group, RippleNet and XRP are well positioned to integrate with global financial systems, adopting ISO 20022, enhancing interoperability and streamlining cross-border transactions. RippleNet's real-time, frictionless cross-border payment protocol aligns with SWIFT TMP's goal, offering more efficient and transparent solutions while reducing the need for intermediaries and settlement times. The TMP's fraud detection and data integrity features complement RippleNet's security, leveraging ISO 20022 data to enhance transaction monitoring and improve overall payment system. This is monumental because if we go over to the adoption strategy, they say that they're following the CPMI agenda to improve market payments, right? And last time we checked, the CPMI is Ripple is a part of this Committee on Payment and Market Infrastructure, and this is what ISO 20022 is also working with. And it gets pretty crazy here because when we go over to what Tom said in regards to
Transaction manager.
Take a look at this. It says no effort will automatically begin routing traffic onto Transaction Manager, as he stated. So as long as you're compliant with CBPR+, you'll be able to benefit from all it has to offer. Get ready for this because the CBPR+, you know who's compliant here? Okay, when we go and see who's ready to start using this, we have ACI Worldwide, Ripple partner, and then we have Finastra. Look at the date, March 2024, and ACI came out February 2024. All this year, they're getting ready. And Finastra, we have Finastra and Ripple. And look at the Ripple connectivity. It says RippleNet Cloud, RippleNet. As per the ISO 20022 standards, RippleNet is how they are stated and registered under their Registration Management Group member list. So SWIFT, Ripple, XRP will somehow coexist and work together. And the only reason why XRP and Ripple is, I believe, in my opinion, not verbally being discussed is because the Ripple system, the RippleNet infrastructure has a settlement asset in place, and ACI Worldwide, for example, doesn't have that. It can't leverage something like that. And take a listen to this.
You have SWIFT does messaging with a large data payload in the ISO 20022 messages, but it doesn't do settlement. So the ultimate would be to bring these things together where you have messaging and settlement coming together, that who owns what machine working hand in hand with something you can transfer the large data payloads.
So a question here is whether we need to know who wants tiramisu for every transaction, or we need to know who wants tiramisu for some specific economic transactions. So think about DBP, and it makes a lot of sense to have this cryptographic description so that you can basically settle both transactions at the same time, potentially using a shared ledger. So that is okay. And the ledger that might be operated by a commonly trusted entity, or by a consensus, or whatever you want to think about that underlying ledger. But
that is crazy, folks. Listen to what he says here again.
And it makes a lot of sense to have this cryptographic description so that you can basically settle both transactions at the same time, potentially using a shared ledger. So that is okay. And the ledger that might be operated by a commonly trusted entity, or by a consensus, or whatever you want to think about that underlying ledger.
So now that I've shown you the evidence that the IMF, the BIS Innovation Hub, or the World Bank are all working closely on this G20 roadmap. That's what they're following. And when we get into this is a topic that I've covered before, but just know that this will go down in the history books 50 years from now when everything, is flowing, and we will be looked back at. This video will be looked back at because nobody in this crypto sector has talked about the 4 Sundays that we have discovered on this channel. And that is a fact. I was the first individual to connect all these together And that is a fact. I'm not stroking my own ego. I'm just the original people, content viewers. You guys already know. The force, I believe it's the 6 Sundays now. It's always on the Sundays. But this was so massive because they started exploring liquidity bridges in the month of November of 2021, the same month that Ripple came out with their liquidity hub. And if we take a look at this, on the same month, it was done on a Sunday, you see that number of transactions executed hit an all-time high. What are on a Sunday? Give me a break, okay? Don't tell me this is not a test. Number of currency exchanges hit an all-time high. Number of payments hit an all-time high. Successful payments hit an all-time high. Do you see where I'm going with this? The World Bank, the IMF, the World Economic Forum, the BIS Innovation Hub, the FSB, the Group of 30, they're all involved on this. And from a banker's perspective, given my experience, I know when you're doing a proof of concept tests or any kind of test that you're willing to do on a widespread volume, you're going to do it on a Sunday. These are the testing days. These are all facts. Go ahead and smash that like button. And now just to put the icing on the cake, to all individuals that have been following my work, Ticket Create, which I've covered in the past many times, how it is so beneficial to have some sort of mechanism like the Ticket Create built in because the bankers love that shit. Okay, I'll try to put the link in the description down below for the Ticket Create. I got to go look for the video. But Ticket Created is something that the banks, institutions, the DTCC will all leverage. And what are the odds? The first time it went live was Thursday, November 18th, but they didn't utilize it yet until we covered it a couple months ago. But they activated it because the big boys were coming in. The big boys were here, so they had the right pillars in place. And that is why Ticket Created was introduced pretty much 3 days before the testing started. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate every single one of you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. That is just scratching the surface. It is just scratching the surface. And never forget what John McAfee said, even back in 2018. Listen to what he said here. And he was 100% accurate. 100% accurate. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate every single one of you guys. You guys are all pioneers. Everybody watching this video, everybody that's been in the blockchain sector for at least, I would say, you know what? I don't even care if you guys are in here, unless you guys are 6 months, you guys are new, whatever. Just know, folks, forget all the fundamentals about crypto. And I want to give you guys one point of view that should just relieve any kind of stress that you even have. Look at the market cap of the whole crypto sector. It's at $1.4 trillion. Zoom out and just know this sector alone will flood in. Money will flood into the sector to push it to 30 trillion. The crypto sector will exceed $100 trillion in market cap. There is so much money that's going to go into this technology that we are the pioneers at these prices. Now, listen to McAfee here, folks.
I'd like to talk about the war that we're all engaged in, whether you see it as a war or not. It is, in fact, a war. Banks have declared war on us by denying us the ability to use credit cards to purchase crypto. The government has declared war on us. The SEC is trying to abscond with crypto as if it were securities, which it is not. We're in war. What can you do? What can we do? Take action. Write your congressman. It sounds silly, but while they are still in power, make the bastards work. Go into your bank and demand that they allow you to take fiat currency from your crypto accounts and deposit in the bank. If they say no, say, can you recommend a bank that would? Demand the credit card companies accept payment for crypto. Believe me, they're still in business. If people start abandoning writing letters walking into banks, and more importantly, writing the Security and Exchange Commission and demand that they leave us alone. Because we are not a security. We are coins, we are currency. They are frightened of us.
They told us dream small, but we had the stars in mind. While they chased hype, we studied time. In the noise we found the signal. Brad knew just what to do. Now XRP hums like jazz, running smooth and true. Money's changing, systems bend. Ripple flow into the end. Truth is quiet, bold and deep. We salute the ones who lose no sleep. Salute to the minds that built this chain. Salute, salute, through the trials, through the pain. Salute, salute, to the calm, to the wise. Salute, 100 in our eyes. Bitcoin maxis yell on stage, stuck in loops they call belief, while XRPL just clears the way. No delay, no grief. They hoard coins like dusty gold, but we got utility in every fold. The future ain't loud, it's steady breathing. Real ones know what's worth believing. It ain't hype, it's code and soul. We salute the ones who see the whole. Salute to the builders, to the flow. Salute, salute, where the real ones choose to go. Salute, salute, to the heart, to the plan. Salute, XRP will lead the land. Value don't lie, and truth don't shake. Let the whole world break, we remake. Strategic reserve, written in stars. XRP gonna take us far. So here's to the signal, clear and bright. To the dreamers who held on tight. No matter the storm, no matter the fight. Salute, we rise with the light.
We started building RippleNet with the thesis that crypto liquidity would eventually be able to support robust global payments, large payments. RippleNet was designed so that customers seeing the benefits of our fiat-based network could flip the switch to ODL once the market was mature enough. And this is exactly what's happening. Flip the switch.
I think what we're building has, it's solving a real problem. And I think all of the tokens, my advice to anybody would be, understand the utility. If there's real utility and there's real value being delivered to a real customer, there will be value in the token.